Very interestingly, when we analyzed the data, there were very few differences between black respondents and white respondents. They were each was as likely to credit black oral history in describing and proving the relationship between Thomas Jefferson and Sally Hemings. They were equally likely to doubt the DNA evidence. Older visitors were somewhat less likely to think that it was important to talk about slavery in understanding Monticello, Thomas Jefferson, or history. For most people, slavery was a shameful reality. And they went to great lengths to fit Jefferson into kind of the progressive, inspirational American narrative. Slavery was only a small part of the story. He was a man of his times. They really worked hard to maintain Jefferson as admirable and progressive in light of this DNA evidence, the ubiquitous slave-master relationship, all in the family, or the star-crossed lovers. The most interesting part of this to us, and in some ways the most surprising, was that people, in coping with this DNA evidence, seemed to confront for the first time the fact that Jefferson was a slaveholder. They had been somehow able to ignore that up until this time. And then it was the relationship with Sally Hemings somehow that forced them to confront that fact of his existence. It's as if fathering children by a slave made his slaves visible. So they had to then create explanations, stories. For some, it meant a more realistic view of Thomas Jefferson and the nation's history with all of the contradictions. But most people still managed to maintain their admiration for Jefferson by focusing on what they said, the important things about what they had learned at Monticello, his inventive genius, his architectural creativity, his commitment to democratic principles. They compartmentalized Sally Hemings and his slaveholding in order to preserve the heroic Thomas Jefferson.